January is not divorce season because people suddenly get brave or dramatic or impulsive. January is divorce season because it's the month that women basically stop lying to themselves. We know that over 70% of divorces are filed by women, right? And I know this might sound harsh, but stay with me because by the end of this, I'm going to tell you the part that no one says out loud, the part that actually explains why January hits so hard and why so many women just quietly decide that they're done right then. Every year, family lawyers talk about the same thing. January spikes, the phone rings, filings are pouring in. And it's not just in the US, but in Canada, the UK, and basically across Western countries. And yes, not all divorces are abuse. That matters. But most abusive relationships do end in separation or divorce. So January is the biggest filing month. It's also when a massive number of women are escaping something that has been hurting them for way too long. And that correlation isn't reckless, it's just reality. I'm Lisa Sonni, a certified relationship coach and author who specializes in abusive and toxic relationships and, more specifically, helping women exit and heal from relationships with abusive men. Hit subscribe so you can learn more about the tactics men use and how to see all this clearly so that you can leave him or heal from that relationship. And no, this really isn't about New Year's resolutions. I'm not really about that. This isn't about new year, new me energy. This isn't women just choosing their own happiness flippantly like red pill dudes want us to believe, right? Women don't blow up their lives because they saw a motivational quote on January 1st. That idea is actually pretty insulting. Women leave after trying way longer than they should have, longer than anyone ever gives women credit for. January isn't when women decide. January is when the cost of staying finally outweighs the fantasy. Here's what people miss. Trauma bonds don't break when things are bad. They survive bad. They're built on bad. They're built on hope. Trauma bonds weaken when hope collapses, when the story that you've been selling yourself can't survive reality for a second longer. And the holidays are when that story gets tested. Here's my theory. Holidays actually force proximity, right? You're together more. You can't escape into the routine of daily life. You can't just numb out the same way. There's time off, there's expectations, there's pressure to be loving and present and grateful and connected. And if your relationship is already emotionally unsafe, or it's controlling or cold or just abusive, the holidays aren't going to soften that. They actually amplify it. So many women go into December thinking, maybe this time will be different. Maybe he'll show up. Maybe he'll be warmer. Maybe he'll care. Maybe the stress is just work. He needed time off. Maybe after things slow down, it'll get better. Maybe when we have time. Trauma bonds live in the future, in potential, in maybe. Well, December is the last big maybe. And then it isn't different. He's still cold or explosive, checked out or drinking, controlling. Maybe he's critical, pouting, sulking, disappearing emotionally. Sometimes he's worse, right? Because the stress gives him cover. Family dynamics trigger entitlement because he expects emotional labor and sex and smiles and gratitude, compliance, your silence. That realization doesn't arrive as some dramatic moment. It's kind of quiet, right? Like a heaviness in your chest, right? It's a thought that you don't even want to finish. If he can't show up now, when will he? Another thing the holidays do that nobody wants to say is they create contrast, not comparison in like an Instagram way, right? I'm talking nervous system contrast. You see how other men speak to their partners, how other fathers engage with their kids. You feel how calm your body is when he's not around, right? You get tense when he walks into the room. Trauma bonds numb your perception. They keep you busy kind of surviving. The holidays disrupt routine just enough for your body to tell the truth. And your body always knows before your mind catches up. There's also the part that nobody likes to talk about, right? Women delay leaving on purpose. Not because they're weak. Actually, they're conscientious. And interestingly, that is proven to be a very common trait in women who end up in relationships like this. Have a look at some research by Sandra L. Brown. Women don't ruin the kids' holidays. That's not what they want to do. They don't want to deal with the family backlash. They don't want to explain. They don't want to be the villain, right? So they endure his abuse. They tell themselves, just get through this. One more Christmas, one more New Year, then I'll think about it. January is often when women just finally give themselves permission to stop performing. They stop pretending, right? You're done holding everything together so that nobody else has to feel uncomfortable, but it's always at your own expense. That's actually why March spikes too. It's the second highest month for divorce filings. September is the third, just in case you wondered. January is when the emotional truth just hits you. March is when the logistics catch up, right? Lawyers see it every year. The women who hesitated, the women who needed a few more weeks to gather documents and money and courage, the women who thought, maybe I'm overreacting, and then they realized they weren't. Summer, on the other hand, is quiet, August especially. People don't want to blow things up during vacations and school breaks. That pattern alone tells you that this isn't impulsive behavior. It's calculated endurance, and it's followed by you collapsing. But here's the part that makes a lot of people really uncomfortable. Abusive relationships don't usually end because something terrible happened one last time. They end because nothing changes. Because finally, the hope just dies. But grief sets in. January isn't fueled by anger. I think it's fueled by grief, right? That's the grief of realizing the relationship that you were waiting for, it's not coming. The grief of letting go of the version of him that you just kept believing in, right? The grief of accepting that love shouldn't feel this hard. Relationships can take work, but they shouldn't be hard work constantly. Arguing, abuse. That grief is heavy. I think it's heavier than fear eventually. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, I didn't leave because things were awful, I left because I was empty. That's it right there. It's not a coincidence. That's a trauma bond weakening. Trauma bonds are sustained by intermittent reinforcement, right? The good moments, the apologies and the promises, the I'll do betters. The holidays are honestly the last chance that women give those promises to actually prove themselves. And it doesn't pan out. When they don't, something kind of shifts internally, right? You don't suddenly feel empowered. You're probably exhausted. You feel sad. You feel clear in a way that also hurts. And that clarity is not going to feel like freedom at first. It feels like loss. That's why January decisions feel so final, because by the time you get there, right, you've already argued with yourself 1,000 times. You've already blamed yourself. You've already tried harder. You've already lowered your expectations. You know the phrase, the bar is in hell? That's where this comes from. You've already accommodated it and explained and justified and waited. So when people say, wow, everyone's getting divorced in January, what they're actually witnessing is the aftermath of months or probably years of this emotional reckoning. And if you're wondering whether the holidays break trauma bonds, the answer is no, not magically. But as I said, they crack denial. They start to wear down on hope. They expose the gap between who he is and who you kept hoping he would be. And once you see that gap, it's really hard to unsee it. Now, here's something else really worth talking about, right? Abusive men often escalate more during the holidays, right? More control, criticism, more entitlement, more sulking and pouting if things aren't centered on them, more resentment if the attention goes to kids or other members of the family. That escalation's not random at all, right? He's losing control of the narrative, and women feel that. So January becomes the month that women choose themselves, not because they're suddenly selfish. It's because they're finally honest. And I want to say this clearly. If this question has even crossed your mind, if you found yourself questioning your relationship more during or after the holidays, doesn't mean that you're dramatic, right? It's not Christmas nostalgia, holiday nostalgia. It doesn't mean that you're cold, and you're definitely not giving up too soon. I bet you could have given up a long time ago, and that would have made perfect sense. Your nervous system saw something that your hope was masking, right? It was covering it up. Now here's the part that I told you to wait for. The most dangerous thing for an abusive relationship isn't confrontation. It's not anger. It's not even boundaries. It's emotional disengagement. It's the moment that a woman literally stops fighting for the fantasy. She's fed up. And as a result, she gives up. So many women stay until they hate him because they are trying so hard, too hard. In fact, I'll refer you to one of my videos called Signs You Hate Your Husband. And listen, that moment when women just give up, usually that happens kind of quietly, right? During or right after the holidays, when the last excuse just falls apart. That's why January matters. It has nothing to do with the calendar. It's just the truth. If this hits something in you, if you're sitting with that heavy, kind of quiet clarity, but you don't really know what to do with it yet, you think you want to leave, you're not sure, you've just left, you don't know how to move forward, awareness always comes before action. You don't have to rush the next step, but don't gaslight yourself out of what you're seeing. I want you to trust yourself. If you want help making sense of what you're feeling, that's what I do. If this resonated, comment and subscribe because the next videos go even deeper into why leaving just feels impossible, even when you know it's time. I teach how to break free inside the Trauma Bond Recovery Group Coaching Program and how to rebuild yourself inside the Rise and Rebuild Group Coaching Program. My co-host for both of these programs is Dr. Peter Salerno, and the proven results for those programs are that women find real clarity and real change.